All right, I just made that up just for fun. I wanted to just showcase the pedal board that I've been playing with for about a year. Might be under a year, it might be a little over a year, but around there. And I've played in the neighborhood of around like 300 different performances with it, mostly solo, mostly acoustic, but then I've been playing with a full band where I'm singing and playing guitar, and I play mostly electric for those shows. Up until recently, I've been using traditional acoustic guitars and then traditional electric guitars, but I just wanted to start going through the pedal board because it is time for me to tear it apart. I'm actually building a larger board after playing with this for so long. I love the size of it, but I'm excited to go up another step, another small step, to encompass a larger looper and potentially another HX Stomp. But from now, I'll just be using one HX Stomp for this next build. So let me just go through everything about it that I think is pretty exciting and might be useful for you and your pedal board. And then I'll go through separate videos for each one of the main components, which would be the EAE Gig Mix, Elite Acoustics. I'm not sure what the other E stands for, but Elite Acoustics Gig Mix, the Boss RC500, and the HX Stomp. Those are the main components that I'm using with this in order to get all the sounds that I need. There were some tricks and some sounds that I didn't even go into in that little intro that I have saved up that I use all the time, but let's get started. So first things first, actually, the system is raised up on a rack unit in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and just mute the guitar and take the mic outside of this stand and see if I can show you a little bit about it. So I'm on top of a rack unit that actually is, I'll post a picture of it. It is by Proco, which makes the Rat distortion pedal. They were famous for that. They also make some really cool, what would it be? Really cool rack units and sound buffers. And this is a ISO unit. There's 4 isolated boxes. So this allows me to plug in on this channel. I have an XLR input going to a 1/4 inch output, and that 1/4 inch goes over to the Gig Mix, and I have 2 1/4 inch outputs out of the looper, and they are separated, and they go into 1/4 inch as well to go to the Gig Mix. The reason I did this is kind of like a DI box. I want to be able to send audio for each one of these units to the main. If I'm playing on a large stage, it would be this. So this main goes to the front of house for vocals. This main under here would go to the front of house for one of the guitars and one of the looper channels, and the other one here would go to another looper channel. So the front of house can mix everything. But typically, when I'm playing a gig where I'm doing it myself, everything comes into this EAE gig mix, all separated, and I run just one cable, just that cable, to my PA system or a small powered speaker, and all of my sound comes through this mix the way that I want. And when I'm playing a larger gig, where I'm on a stage and I send those out to the sound guy, this still works for a personal mixer, so I can set a small wedge off to the side and have my own personal monitor mix. And I don't have to ask the sound guy to send me certain levels, and everything has what I want on it. I also use it for an in-ear monitor mix, and that is currently what I'm using in order to monitor this video. So I know exactly how it sounds. It comes right out to my guitar cable, and it's linked through this guitar cable that I have, a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch connection, in order to go right up to my guitar input, and I just put in some in-ear monitors. And that has been my solution for loud gigs, or maybe some gigs where I'm a little bored and I just want to put in some headphones and zone out and just be in my own little reverby world. I can certainly do that. I've also taken out the reverb for the vocals for this purpose, but typically if I am playing and singing, I have the reverb a little less around here. And I love this reverb. This is the same reverb I use for vocals, and it's the same reverb I use for guitar. I don't use any reverb on the HX Stomp. I actually kind of like having it after the looper, and I certainly enjoy having it after the signal that I've sent to the sound guy, because they want to also control the reverb for the room that you're in. So this has been a great solution for me. I'll turn this back off, though, just because I'm talking, and you definitely don't need that. All right, let me put this mic back in the stand so I have my hands free. I also have this camera stand in front of me, so it was a little difficult to work around and see all the buttons. So if I miss any buttons, that's why. All right, so I'm playing a more or less an acoustic guitar. It has a Anthem, LR Baggs Anthem SL pickup, and it's running into the HX Stomp. Currently, the way I think about this is the HX Stomp is the entire brain of the sound design operation. Some of the things I have on it, I have 2 channels coming out of this. One isolates the bass frequency, and the other isolates the treble frequencies. And typically for the bass frequencies, I can even have a octave pedal on there. And it works really well for solo gigs where you need to fill out a lot of sound in the low end. This allows me to compress the low end the way that I would like, and also when I turn on a effect that might have some modulation to it, it doesn't change the fundamental of the sound. It really just gives it a lot of high-end difference. So when I play a chord, that is the just a straight guitar chord, but when I turn on a chorus, the low end maintains. So I'll actually turn up the low end so you can hear it come through a little bit. And the top end is the only thing that continues to have that modulation. So people hear a modulated guitar, but they don't feel a drastic difference. This could be also helpful with something like tremolo, with phaser, and then also with distortion. Distortion can change the low end of a instrument quite a bit, but with this distortion, it's only on the top end. But that low end continues. So I really find this one tiny pedal to be super flexible for everything that I need so far. And this MIDI Baby 3 is connected to this HX Stomp, and this foot switch is also connected to this HX Stomp. So in total, I have the 3 buttons up top. You can see this one is a tap tempo and a tuner. I have these 2 buttons. This one is an auto wah. This one turns the bass off, so you can hear the difference of the bass. And there it's gone. So that helps me if I really just want to play like a very minimalistic acoustic song. I can take that bass out, and it won't be in the way if I'm doing a more relaxed number, maybe. It also helps if I have a great bass line looped and I don't want to get in the way of it while I'm soloing. I don't typically mess with turning it on or off too much during the course of a gig, but I just thought it would be nice to have and be able to bring it all the way back in. I have a distortion on this pedal, which you heard, and this one was the chorus. I have a delay, which is a duct delay, so when I play and solo over it, it doesn't get in the way. But when I stop, you hear it come through. So you can edit those settings on that quite a bit, and I look forward to getting even more into it. And then I have a phaser for another modulation. Great for ringing out chords, adding some modulation over a beat. Just an amazing sound. I love it. The 2 things that I guess I don't really turn on or off, I have an IR loader, an impulse response loaded into the high-end frequency. I believe it's set, I'll just check for it real quick. Let me check. Yes, it's set for a Taylor 614 style guitar, and I'll turn that off so you can hear it real quick. So this is just the pickup straight through. Actually sounds pretty good, but when I turn on the impulse response, I just think it has a little bit more fidelity and a little bit more dimension to it. Honestly, I could go without it, but I just had the block to use, and I am experimenting with it all the time, so I'll turn it back on. And you can mix it anywhere in between those 2. So that is the HX Stomp. Love that pedal. I think I might have 2 in the next pedal board that I build, but for now, that's all I need for a lot of sound design, especially with the new looper that I'll be using, the RC600. But that leads us to the RC500. This unit, this is the first loop pedal that I really got into. I perform so much with this loop pedal now. I can still perform, 3 or 4 hour gigs without it. And sometimes I like to just do that if it's a more organic setting, more laid back space, maybe a more traditional setting. I'll play without a loop pedal. But I've been using this and building songs around it and building cover songs around it so much. I love it. Basically, I have this foot switch directly attached to the looper and this MIDI Baby foot switch, as you can see, attached to the looper as well. So the way I have it currently set up is I have 1 loop and I have 2 loops. So these 2 loops are separate. Typically what I'll do is, you saw me play in the intro, is I'll set a rhythm loop here, and then I'll set a melodic loop here, normally the verse or main chord structure of a song. And then when I go to play a chorus or change the chord structure of the song, I simply turn it off. Um, and that gives me a chance to be able to solo and do some lead lines over top. This button I have set to a beat repeat in order to do a slight build in the in a maybe in coming up to the end of a chorus or coming into a chorus or something. And at this point right now, this unit, this MIDI baby controls. I'll stay on this real quick. This stops track 1, and if I hold it, it deletes it. And this stops track 2, and if I hold it, it deletes it. So this has been useful to have them side by side like this, and this will help me tremendously with the new pedal, the RC600. It doesn't seem many people do this, have the buttons so close to each other, but it allows me to stop at the same time 2 tracks and start at the same time 2 tracks. Sometimes people will have play and stop next to each other and play and stop next to each other, and I've found that I really like having them together, so you can start and stop multiple tracks at the same time. Really love it. This is all start and all stop. In retrospect, I might not even really use it that much because I can hit them all start and all stop with one foot over here. But it's just the way I set it up, and I just haven't changed it in 300 gigs or so. So it's working. And this left green switch is undo for track 1, and this one is undo for track 2. So this allows me to do cool things for guitar. If I go... Oh, whoops, I turned down the volume. Hold on. Wow, that never happens to me. I think because I lifted up the pedal board when I was showing you some of the tricks on the rack unit. But anyway, when I have that going, if I want to add a bass line, so now we got a bass line, and if I want to create some space and take that bass line out again, it's almost as if it adds some new dimension, another loop to my loop potential. So I'll add a beat to it. And if I wanted to add another rhythmic part on top, I certainly could. And if I want to take that rhythm part out, it's out. And if I want that bass back in, I can bring it back in. Cool. And then I just go ahead and delete it. I made a fairly easy setup for a song right there. And yeah, that's pretty much how I've been using this. There are some things I would have done a little differently. I would have put this gig mix and the in-ear monitor mix over on the other side. Would love to have it over there instead, but I cut the cables and wired the cables perfectly in order to fit around there, and it would have just been it would have been a pain to move it over and undo everything. But it just wasn't worth doing. It wouldn't have made that much of a difference. But other than that, I love this pedal board. I put on some LED lights, and I'm powering this entire thing with the Seox DC7, which also has a USB power, which is powering these LED lights. And it's one cable going out into the mixer, and one cable going to power at the wall outlet or the multi-strip that I'll bring with me. And this pedal board is killing it. So feel free to ask me any questions, and I'm going to stop this video and go a little bit more in depth with each one of the units. And then sooner down the line, you'll see me posting about a new, larger board, which I am excited to get finished because I've been thinking about it nonstop. So thank you for watching. I hope this sounds and looks good and is helpful to you, and I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.